Hey guys, it's Henry here again, and welcome back to another episode of Apparel Academy. I've been getting a lot of questions lately from customers asking me to compare the differences between a Ricoma and a Melco machine. So in this episode of Apparel Academy, I want to kind of break down some of the key differences between a Melco machine and a comparable Ricoma machine and how that affects your business and what are some of the considerations that you should take into account when deciding which brand to go with. Now, as always, before we dive right in, make sure to smash that like button and click the subscribe button to subscribe to further videos just like this if you found this content helpful. So before we dive into the key differences between Melco and Ricoma, we want to first set the context of which specific machine models to compare. So on the one hand, for Melco, we're going to be using the EMT16X as the reference to compare against, as that is one of their single head embroidery machines. And on the other hand, for the Ricoma, a comparable machine would be the MT-1501, our top-of-the-line commercial single-head machine that we'll be comparing against. So usually when customers ask me what are the key differences between Melco and Ricoma, I always give them these key differences and let them decide what's going to be their best fit for their business. Because after all, it really depends on what your goals and what your needs are, including your budget, what kind of items you're trying to embroider, and what your setup is currently or in the future that's going to be most conducive to run your business. There's no cookie cutter approach for all, and that's why I want to give unbiased information and real facts for you to decide what's going to be best for your business. There are going to be people that prefer one over the other, but given all the features and the differences, there are some key things to consider when deciding which one to go with. So overall, I would summarize the key differences between Melco and Ricoma into these 5 different points. Point number 1 is that for any Melco machine, it does need a separate computer attached to the machine in order for the machine to run. On the other hand, for the Ricoma, there's a standalone computer system that's already built into the machine, and you would not need an external computer in order to run the machine. So knowing that the Melco needs a computer to connect to the machine in order to operate and the Ricoma doesn't, let's kind of head on over to the actual machine and show you what's on the Ricoma machine, the Ricoma MT-1501, and what's on the control panel to be able to have it operate without having a computer attached to it, and what options you have actually on top of that to network and connect your machines. All right, so now that we're in front of the machine, this is the Ricoma MT-1501. Let's kind of show you what I mean by some of the key differences between the Melco EMT16X and the Ricoma MT-1501. The Ricoma MT-1501 is our flagship, top-of-the-line commercial single-head machine. So as you can see here, as I mentioned before, the Melco does require a computer attached to the machine in order for the machine to run. Versus the Ricoma, you can see that there's an onboard control panel, a touchscreen, 7-inch touchscreen control panel that you see here attached to the machine. And because this has a lot of functions and features built into the panel, this can operate on a standalone basis. So you don't need an extra computer attached to it in order for the operating system or the firmware to actually run. On the panel itself, because it's touchscreen and it's onboard connected to the machine itself, it can actually have a lot of features, including how to select your hoops, do your one-step tracing, you can even choose your colors on here, and a lot of other embroidery settings. It even has onboard lettering where you can just punch in like a name or a simple monogram and being able to digitize it automatically and embroider it right then and there without having to go into your digitizing software. So another positive of having an attached control panel and an onboard control panel is that it's really mobile. You can roll this machine anywhere because it has casters and wheels on the stand. You can just raise the casters and then roll around on the wheels and then place the casters down when you have the machine in place. And you don't have to lug the computer around with it, right? This is especially helpful when you're traveling on the road to either a trade show, a craft fair, or whatever the case is where you have more mobility and flexibility in your shop. You're able to have a lot more versatility with something that's on board versus a computer that always has to be attached to it, because then it limits you in terms of where your computer can be and where you can set up your workstation. So for the Melco, one of the features of having an external computer attached to the machine itself is actually its ability to network different machines together. So one of the things that Melco mentions a lot and emphasizes a lot on is a modular system where you're able to use the external computer that's attached to the machine to run the operating system and therefore network different single-head Melco machines together into a multi-head option. So the benefit of having a modular system is obviously if one head goes down or stops due to a thread break or a bobbin change, other heads can continue to work. So unlike a multi-head, if one head stops, other heads would also stop because it runs on one single system. With a modular system, you kind of separate the different machines and be able to isolate which machine is running and which ones are not. However, I want to emphasize the fact that the modular system that Melco emphasizes is not unique to just Melco. The ability to network different machines is also available on Ricoma as well as other embroidery machine brands. I do want to emphasize a key difference between Melco and Ricoma, and that is for the Melco, connecting a computer is an absolute necessity because that's the only way you can run the actual machine. For the Ricoma, there's actually the option of connecting it via an Ethernet cable, because as you can see here in the back of the control panel here on the Ricoma MT-1501, you actually have an Ethernet port that you can connect an Ethernet cable to from your machine to your computer, and therefore be able to send either designs from your computer to your machine, or even network different single heads together into a modular system. All right, so I think that's really about it. I really wanted to kind of get in front of the machine and show you guys what I mean by an onboard control panel and computer versus an external system that connects to it, and showing you that the Ricoma MT-1501 also has the option to network and connect via Ethernet cable, but it's not necessary. So with that said, let's kind of head back over to the studio and wrap up some of the other points that we were talking about. The second key difference between Melco and Ricoma is that Melco only has single head machines, and they really tout a modular system where you kind of network different machines together to scale your business. On the other hand, Ricoma has a variety of machines to choose from because we manufacture our own machines and therefore have a large spectrum of both single heads and multi-heads, and depending on your needs, you can pick the right model or the right type of machine to scale your business. So in order for a commercial embroiderer to scale with Melcos, they have to buy additional single head machines. That can be quite cost ineffective as you scale because the cost per head remains the same as you scale up further. Now take that and compare to Ricoma, where we actually offer various multi-head options for you to scale into. That can actually be quite cost effective because as you scale up with multi-heads, instead of buying one head at a time, you can actually buy a multi-head and your cost per head actually decreases the larger machine you get. That is not an option you can have with Melco because the only way to scale is adding on additional single heads, and that cost is going to be constant as you scale. So if one machine costs $15,000, the second machine is going to cost the same, as is the third one, and even if you have 10 machines, that cost does not decrease per head. So that's also a key consideration when deciding which brand to go with, in that you need to consider the future of how you want to structure your embroidery machine shop. If you are only looking for a maximum of a couple of units, a Melco might be a good option to go with and network them all to scale up to 2, 3, or 4 different machines. However, if you're looking to run a 30-head embroidery shop, it will be quite ineffective to go with 30 single heads versus having multi-head options to do these bulk orders. The third key difference is regarding training and ongoing support and ongoing education. For Melco, while having a pretty good warranty, they do not offer lifetime technical support. That means that after the warranty expires, you have to pay extra to get support for your machine. On the other hand, here at Ricoma, we offer what's called lifetime technical support. And what that means is being able to have access to our support team here even after your warranty expires for the lifetime of the machine, as long as you're a Ricoma customer. And even if you purchased a Ricoma machine used from someone else secondhand, you still have access to our team to ask any questions and get the help that you need. And that's the beauty of having lifetime technical support, because even after your warranty expires, you still have access to a team of professionals that can help you with any questions you might have on a particular project or a particular design that you're doing. And that little bit of help without having to pay extra for can go a long way, especially here at Ricoma, because we offer 7 days and after-hour support. You really get extended hours of access to our team here with a live person to speak to. So whether you're working late at night from a full-time job and you're coming home to do embroidery part-time, or you're doing a project or a rush order for a client on the weekends, you can have someone to talk to either late at night or on the weekends to complete that project on time and not let your customer down. So for the Melco, after your warranty expires, you actually have to pay about $110 per month just to get access to support. And I've actually heard from various customers that that can sometimes go up to $250 per month. I guess it depends on the type of machine you have, as well as how long your machine is out of warranty, because I think that the longer your machine is out of warranty, the larger they're going to charge for that support. Or maybe if you bought your machine secondhand from someone else used, that support is going to be higher to get access to. In addition, I think support is only one part of the overall equation. What really matters in terms of correlation to success in the embroidery business is ongoing support, ongoing education, and ongoing training. So here at Ricoma, we offer a ton of support and resources with regards to private Facebook groups that you can have access to as a machine owner, and access to a ton of tutorials and videos on our YouTube channel. Here at Ricoma, we actually have a retraining program in addition to all the ongoing support and education, in that you can actually get retrained if you feel that you forgot something, or you can actually get your staff trained if a new person is joining your team free of charge. So overall, you get a lot more bang for your buck and a lot more value with a Ricoma MT-1501 package versus the Melco EMT16X. Because it's not just about what's included in the machine, because that can be very comparable and on par, but it's about what kind of access you have to support, to resources, and ongoing education to make sure that you are well on your way to become successful in the embroidery business. So the fourth key difference between Melco and Ricoma really has to do with the bigger picture and the vision for both companies and their history. On the one hand, Melco, probably 10 to 20 years ago, actually manufactured multi-head embroidery machines and commercial embroidery machines. However, several years ago, they were acquired by a company called Bernina, and for those of you that don't know, Bernina actually manufactures sewing machines and home embroidery machines, typically those single needle sewing and embroidery machine combo. So after this transition, Melco has really gotten away from the commercial embroidery machines and multi-head machines, and that's why you no longer see those multi-head embroidery machines from Melco on the market. And since being acquired by Bernina, they've been really focused on more home and hobbyist embroidery machines, because their parent company, Bernina, that's their main focus, and that's what their bread and butter is. On the other hand, for Ricoma, we've always been in the commercial embroidery machine business, and that's why we have a wide range of machines to choose from, both single heads and multi-heads, as I kind of alluded to before. That level of dedication and expertise from Ricoma in the commercial embroidery machine space, that being our bread and butter, has really driven us to invest a lot more in R&D and therefore really hone in on what commercial embroiderers want, even for home embroiderers that are looking to get a commercial embroidery machine to kickstart their home business. Okay, last but not least, we're going to go into some key differences between the machine specifications from the EMT16X from the Melco versus the MT-1501 on the Ricoma. So while most embroidery machines can get you from point A to point B, one of the key differences between the EMT16X from Melco versus the Ricoma MT-1501 is that the Melco actually does not have tension knobs on the machine. So Melco has this active feed auto tensioning system where it touts this feature of being able to adjust your tension automatically based on what kind of design you're doing. So I think off the bat for the Melco, a lot of people get attracted to this feature because of the fact that it seems like it's done for you, that you don't have to touch your tension at all, and whatever you do, it will just auto tension for you. On the other hand, for the Ricoma MT-1501, it does have two entire sets of tension knobs, one on the thread rack and one set of tension knobs on the actual machine head. And yes, I know tension can be a pain, and a lot of people complain about tension because they can't get it right so that their embroidery can come out crisp. However, there are some pros and cons to consider between an auto tension system versus a manual tensioning system, because I feel that the auto tensioning, while it can be very beneficial for newbies who don't know how to set tension and therefore can just forget it and have it on autopilot and have the machine do it for you, but you lose a lot of the control that you would have with manual tensioning. In fact, a lot of commercial embroidery machines on the market do have manual tension knobs in place specifically for that reason, because commercial embroiderers want to have more control over how their tension comes out and be able to adjust on the fly depending on what they see. Because let's face it, while an auto tensioning system is going to be beneficial and probably convenient in some circumstances, it cannot possibly encompass all situations and all types of scenarios. As with anything automatic or done for you, just like the autopilot on a Tesla, there are going to be circumstances and obstacles that you can't foresee, and the software has to learn that, or updates have to be made to the software to accommodate those circumstances. So in reality, once you have kind of the basics of tensioning down and know what to look for, tension can become very easy and you can kind of set it and forget it, even if you have to do it on manual tension knobs. So it just really boils down to how much control you want to have and how much you want to leave it up to the machine to accommodate in all circumstances, or having a little bit of control in different cases where you can have control over how much tension to set for particular types of garments or particular designs. At the end of the day, there's no right or wrong answer for what you decide to go with, because it really depends on your particular situation. As people say in the industry, try to go with the biggest machine that you can afford when starting out so that you can kind of grow into it and not regret your purchase having outgrown it in just a couple of months. That being said, I hope you guys really enjoyed this detailed breakdown between the Melco versus Ricoma, because a lot of people have been asking me about that question, so we really decided to give a detailed breakdown in a video like this. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for future updates and content just like this. I also want to remind you, if you haven't already done so, join our free Facebook group, Embroidery and Custom Apparel Mastery. That's one of the free resources and ongoing support and education that I was talking about that's key to the success here at Ricoma. And there's now over 18,000 embroiderers and custom apparel decorators in there sharing their knowledge and tips and tricks to grow your business. Finally, follow us on Instagram at Ricoma HQ. We post there daily so you can keep up to date with the latest trends happening in the world of decorated apparel. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys next time.